another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. I know you're trying to enjoy the weather, but for all of you guys and girls that watch the show, special shout out to Dawn Campiti, best pizza in Dormont, legendary. Shows up at Sips all the time along with my buddy Chief. Hey, enjoy that meal that you're eating right now in front of the TV, buddy. And the rest of you, you can watch us until the Buccos get on at 8:10 tonight. So stay tuned to that dial. Verizon 32, as you know, or Comcast 7. Well, welcome to the show, folks. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner. Smoking Jim is stuck in traffic. He didn't realize that it's hard to get from Monroeville to Bethel Park.
Brazil is sitting in for Smoking Jim this evening until he gets here.
His girlfriend.
Say good evening to Brazil, everybody.
Hi, Brazil.
Big Mike's been talking to her. We have Big Mike Butera.
What's your phone number?
Hey, we got a show to do.
Okay.
And we start out the show with what's on our mind. Big Mike, what's on your mind?
Well, first off, hello, Rick and Loretti. I love you, Frankfort, Illinois. You know that. 3 new viewers, folks. My neighbors who just celebrated their 2nd anniversary. When I say my neighbors, I mean they share my wall. They're in the other half of my townhouse. That's Mark and Lori, and they've been there 2 years. And they told me last evening that they've had enough and they're moving on. You can read in between.
But will
the
they
lines.
Still watch the show?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you
That's excellent. Let's move on.
And also a very nice fellow, Chad at M&M Uniform in Bridgeville, Pennsilvania. So 3 new viewers to hit the face thing, and
they're watching Verizon, right?
I couldn't tell you. They're Comcast people, so I don't know if they get it, but they all know the YouTube route.
Okay, so they're probably watching YouTube, but you can watch us on Verizon.
Absolutely,
32
across the board.
And what number do they call?
At 412-831-3304.
33.
How you doing? Okay, this evening.
What's on your mind?
Very, very, very little, but I'd like to first off say that I couldn't get my Chip Hayner bobblehead doll nor a 2-minute egg timer, so if I have to, I will. Chip. Okay, last week in baseball, managers got tossed au plente. And in the 4 sports, hockey, baseball, basketball, and football, very seldom does a coach or manager get tossed. He might get teed, he might get a flag tossed at him, but very, very seldom do they have to go out the door and off the field, unlike Bobby Cox, who set the National League record at 132, and Earl Weaver, who's being tossed upstairs, who had the American League record of 98. Now, my point is this. If I got into a row with somebody here on the show,
like Brazil,
the machine would have me tossed in a New York second. Although Smoking Jim, I'm sure, would have my back. But what I don't understand is, yeah, I can understand the emotions of a ball player who, in the heat of the battle, not a heated battle, during the emotional part of the game, he might get into a scrape with an umpire or two. But the managerial people who are mature adults, and for the most part, they're probably either their life experience or their educational experience should. I just don't understand how these guys go toe-to-toe, face-to-face, and get into a childlike argument with another adult. I mean, because that's not the way it is in the real world. So what's my point? There is no point. But I just don't understand this jazz about.
I'll revisit that point with you and explain why that happened.
And I know where you're going, and I will join in with you.
I'm not sure where I'm going yet.
And I'll share some thoughts about that as well.
And you, Brazil, what do you think? Okay, well, that'll be cool.
Thanks, Big Mike.
It's my job.
I appreciate what's on your mind. And Smoking Jim, oh, man, still not here.
That's okay.
You ready, Chip?
I get
What's
it.
on your mind, Chip?
What's on my mind? It's Tuesday, April the 30th. Pretty successful April for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Great way to start out the season. They've started generating some excitement with the fan base, and people are a little bit hesitant to make their way back into the ballpark, and understandably so. The collapse from last year, it stings pretty good. But, they keep playing ball the way they will. They have been. There's going to be a lot of warm fannies in those seats. And, there's Pirate games are going to be a lot of fun to go to. But, tonight we got the NHL playoffs starting. Tomorrow night, the Penguins begin their first-round series against the Islanders. There's a lot of buzz in the city about the Penguins. And our humble opinion, the odds-on favorite to win the Cup this year. I bet the people in Chicago would like to argue otherwise, but there's a reason why they play the games.
Right.
One of the hardest championships to win in professional sports, I believe, is the Stanley Cup. Basketball, sure they play 4-round series, but basketball games aren't anywhere near as physical as pro hockey. So I wanted to touch on that. I also wanted to make a little mention about this big story that was all over the airwaves yesterday, and it's even running in today. And an active professional athlete, came out and admitted that he was gay. And I really think that it's ridiculous that this is even a story, because what difference does it make what somebody does in their personal life? They're a paid professional athlete. They get paid to perform. What they do in their own time is their own business. The people have strong opinions one way or another about it, but you know what? I think it's a big non-issue. And then finally, a gentleman named Tony Bosch. He is the executive director, or supposedly the owner, or shall I put in quotes, the doctor who ran Biogenesis, which is the company in Miami, Florida, that has been linked to Alex Rodriguez getting performance-enhancing drugs, Ryan Braun, Gio Gonzalez, Melky Cabrera. And, I reading this article outside the lines from ESPN about how they had him on the show, and, and of course, the guy just drips with integrity. He denied everything, and in our experience so far, everybody that has denied having anything to do with this has been guilty of sin. And I just really think that, if the guy didn't have anything to hide, why isn't he answering people's questions? And, what's the big deal going on here? What are they going to do about it anyhow? They're going to slap this guy in the wrist, and it's still not going to do anything about the drug problem in baseball. There is a drug problem in baseball. The commissioner of baseball is a horrible example of trying to enforce the rules. They need to put a drug program in Major League Baseball that has real teeth, and there has to be some type of penalties for these players. You get a guy like Melky Cabrera. What's he get? A 50-game suspension last year, and he got a $14 million reward afterward, and he's playing baseball again. So you know what? They just found something different that they're not going to detect now. You know what? They need to clean up the sport so that the sport is a level playing field, But that's what's on my mind. I know
we'll
beating
revisit
a dead horse.
that.
Yeah, I'm beating a dead horse,
threesome.
and
Right.
I may be preaching to the choir, but
You
I'm
are
with
doing
you.
a little bit of that.
I'm with you.
It's hard to disagree with you on those points. And we're going to take a little commercial break right now, because a little birdie told me, Matt, who's our great cameraman who just showed up here, hot from CBS, and I don't know what that stands for, but he's in here. So we're going to take a little break, folks, and
everybody say good evening to Brazil.
no, say good night,
night,
Brazil.
good night, Brazil.
She's going to leave, and
Brazil
we're
is
sorry to see you
leaving.
go, Brazil. But Smoking Jim will fill your shoes.
All right, we'll see you shortly. See you in a minute or two. Welcome back. We got Smoking Jim in the house. Brazil has left us. His girlfriend is gone. Smoking Jim, I know you just arrived, but what's on your mind, buddy?
Wow. Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green, you got to see Levine.
Here, you need a pen? There's a green pen, buddy.
Hey, my spotlight player of the week this week
me
is
that
is the Pittsburgh Steelers have a couple walk-on free agents that I think have an opportunity to make the team. And I'm going to focus in on just one of the guys. We're going to Compton, all the way to Compton by way of the University of Utah. How does that happen? But kick return specialist Reggie is outstanding. Reggie Dunn is an outstanding player. He set an NCAA record, returned 4 kickoffs in one season, and it's more impressive when you know he only caught 10 kickoffs the whole season. He runs the 40 in 4.28. He's super fast. He's only 5'10", 175 pounds. He's a wide receiver, running back, plays a lot of different positions. And when I talked to Reggie on the phone, I told Reggie, I said, well, they're de-emphasizing kickoff returns in the National Football League, and you're a little shaky on punt returns. You got to beef that up if you want to make the team. So I gave him a little tip, and if he follows those tips and get his punt return game together, look for Reggie Dunn to be your next Pittsburgh Steelers kickoff return specialist. And that's what's on my mind.
Sweet.
Well
Thanks.
done.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. Well, what's on my mind is we still got the Butler Wobble, our man Dave Crack. They're sponsoring this July 21st to the 27th. Trina Hess, Dr. Trina Hess from the Humor Academy. She's excited about competing in one of the events, so Bethel Park might do another first. We're working on it right now, getting out to Seneca Valley and Moraine State Park to see this event. And we may even go out there on a Wednesday when there's some competition there. So we're still promoting that, folks, and we may get another guest appearance at Sip Sports Bar from Dave Crack and Dr. Trina Hess. They'll come out to visit us. What's on my mind is Penguins. We're all in pretty much agreement here. We've said it from the beginning when we made our predictions, or at least I did, and these guys are pretty much in agreement there. You need 16 games to win. They're going to do it. Will it be 16 in a row? I don't know if they can do that like L.A. last year when they were on their roll. But we're getting all our players healthy. Look at Neal. Neal come back, put the new tinted visor on.
Wow.
He scored a hat trick.
Wow.
And that's after a concussion. So I think these guys are getting healthy. That's a little tip-off for the rest of the league. I'm not worried about Washington. A lot of people think Ovi's going to come on strong since he did have a great year finally. He got out of that Russian cloud that he was in, and now he's playing. So it should be an exciting Stanley Cup as they are. Like Chip said, this is one of the toughest things to do in sports, win the Stanley Cup. And it takes a lot of teamwork, great play, and you need the goaltenders, and we have 2. And, so that helps. Maybe we'll see both of them out there, you guys. And if you like locker room humor and, we have inside jokes here, so if you see us laughing, there's no disrespect meant, and it doesn't reflect on the station here. It's just our own opinions here, folks. And if you want to call up and join in, 412-831.
3304.
Thank you. Big Mike's on fire. We're going to revisit some of the comments.
I'm looking forward to the Penguin Parade.
Are you? They're going to have one this year, and along with the Pirates right now. I drank that Kool-Aid last week. I see nothing but championships with the Pirates. Thanks to Chip here.
You know what? Since we're talking about Chip right this moment, and what you mentioned, I wanted to ask you about
Leave the dinosaur alone, please.
pirate attendance. That's what Chip Painter, Bob Wilton. The last year, I think you said previously that they set out their all-time attendance record last year?
No, last year was their second highest
Second highest.
attendance. The first year that the PNC Park was open, they set the record, and I believe it was at about 2.3 million paid attendance, and that counts for tickets sold, not from number of people that went through the turnstiles. That's the way they judge this now. But last year there was over 2.1 million.
So are you? Because I don't follow anybody's attendance. Are you telling me right now they're lagging behind, even though they're playing as well as they
you
are?
know, like for example, usually the big attended games are usually the Friday, Saturday games. You know, usually Sundays. But you know, I've been to a couple of Friday, Saturday combo games this fall, and I've seen crowds of about 25,000. Which you know, but now take into account a couple of those games. It was 30 degrees outside. May not have been the best weather, and you know. We're sitting there at a game with long underwear on, you know, Under Armour, blankets wrapped around us and everything, you know. So a little bit of it is that. But, yeah, some of it is, you know, the backlash from last year. And a lot of people, you know, need to be convinced that they're not going to get jilted at the altar again this year.
But they had good attendance through the entire year because, as you just said, they had their second best year ever.
Yeah, they averaged. I think they averaged about 25 to 26,000. I'd have to check the numbers last year.
That's awesome.
And that's for 81 games. Yeah, that is awesome. But those numbers are going to go up because as the weather gets warmer, you know, we're going to be packing the stadium. You know, and that I remember last year when they were, you know, contending in July and early August. You were having weeknight games, you know, where there was 25, 26,000 on a Wednesday night. You know, usually, you know,
that's cool.
There's far less, but.
Well, since we're talking baseball, I want to revisit some of your comments about the sports and how they act childlike and childish.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't motivate a team. I'll tell you what. Haven't you ever?
Here's the point. You can interrupt me. That's fine.
Well,
I do.
I didn't say I didn't mean to.
See how it happens?
Because I meant to.
I know. My point to all this is they're playing a game that you play as a child. These guys really haven't grown up. You just have to face that fact. That's why they do that. And that's why they get crazy like that.
You know, and also
it's a kid's game.
To speak to the point, you
Okay,
know, the umps are fallible the same way players are fallible, like we all are. We all make mistakes, and you know, sometimes it takes a manager making an issue out of something to get somebody to get a call later in a series. You know, for example, what happened Friday night with Pittsburgh? You know, Pittsburgh's pitcher Jonathan Sanchez. First batter hits a home run. Second batter hits a home run. Third batter hits the ball hard up the middle. The fourth batter, he throws the ball up and in, and it hit the guy in the shoulder. If the guy hadn't ducked, it would have hit him in the head. Okay, so the umpire reacts and it ejects him from the game. So Hurdle goes out, and in the interest of trying to defend his player, which is what a good manager will do, oversteps the line. He gets himself ejected. The point that was being made later in the game when Jay Bell got ejected, the hitting coach, was here, okay, once you've had that issue happen, both benches are warned. Well, then they hit Starling Marte. Well, they said, well, they didn't really feel that was intentional, and they were looking at the balls and strikes count when that happened. The next time Marte gets up, he gets hit again. At that point, the pitcher should have been ejected from that game. Okay, because the bench has already been warned. One, okay, it's an accident. Two, then Gabby Sanchez gets hit, and not a single one of the Cardinals pitchers gets ejected. Now, just on principle alone, I agree that the referee or that the umpire should have thrown Sanchez out of the game in the first inning. You cannot throw at somebody's head under any circumstance. It can't be allowed to happen. Okay, and the umpire was good because that. Can you imagine what that game would have escalated into? You know, you would have had benches clearing brawl. You know, we're getting.
Somebody might have broke a shoulder or a collarbone.
But they had to do something. But I think the umpires really dropped the ball when they didn't do something back to St. Louis. So the way the Pirates got back at them, what I told you before, they didn't retaliate. They beat them the next two games. And that's the best way to hit back with these people when it comes to this. It's like we did with Cincinnati earlier this year. Don't retaliate. Sweep them.
Well, I hear both, and I agree with both of you. I made a mistake. I paid attention to my 2-minute egg timer when, in fact, I should have elaborated.
Don, that's gross.
Sorry.
Thanks.
When I should have elaborated, what I meant was like Lloyd McClendon, Lou Piniella picking up the bases and throwing them. Lou Piniella and Billy Martin and Earl Weaver kicking dirt. The guy, and do you remember a few years ago the minor league manager for the Braves that did the throwing the rosin bag like a grenade and all. See, that's what I meant by because Bobby Cox, I mentioned he got thrown out 132 times, but you never saw the guy ridiculous. As a matter of fact, I know why he got tossed out, because he had a bad mouth.
Sure.
Right.
But
There's certain words
But
will get
also
you
by
out
the
of the
same
game.
token,
Exactly.
John Russell, previous Pirate manager, I never saw anybody as disinterested in a baseball game as ever in my life. He was the worst manager in the history of baseball. But you see managers like Earl Weaver and Bobby Cox, and these guys get thrown out. It's a way of motivating your players when they're not, hustling and pulling the line the way they should. You see your manager that cares that much. You know what? All of a sudden, if I don't start getting my head out of my butt and start playing right, I'm going to end up in the minor leagues, and I'll never see the big league, ball field again. So it's a way of motivating your players, and it's a timeless thing. And I totally agree with doing it. I mean, I've managed ball teams myself, and I've gotten ejected. But when you got a point to make, you got to make it. Sometimes you got to take the medicine that goes along with it.
And there you go. We finished the revisitation. That's it for that segment.
Oh, wait, this just in. Tim Tebow. That was it.
Oh, that could be later on there. That snuck out last
Well,
night, too.
it was just in. No, he wasn't the one. It was the other guy.
No, you know what? It's funny that you mentioned Tim Tebow, because I asked Smokin' Jim on his program last week. I asked him what he thought about Geno Smith. Do you know what kind of a moron Geno Smith is? Let me share this with you.
This is a special feature.
This is
These
a
are
special
Chip's
feature.
opinions.
I asked Jim what he thought about Geno Smith. He didn't have a single good thing to say about him. I've even got less. Geno Smith sat there in the green room at the NFL draft and was completely humiliated because he didn't get picked in the first round. Okay? So he got picked very high in the second round. You know what this moron did today? He had fired his agents. You want to know why he fired his agents? Because he was not the number one pick in the draft this year, and it's his agent's fault. Now, I got to tell you something. He is going into the Shark Tank in New York City. Do you know what they're going to do to him? Because this moron thinks that he's going to be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. The New York media eat their young, okay? They're
Chip,
going to have an
you're
absolute
killing me.
field day.
Geno Smith was going to be on our show next week at Sips. No, he got to cancel it because I talked to his agent. This isn't even right. You guys are brutal.
But I've never heard of anything as ridiculous in my life. I fired my agent
Here, I'm going to give you a little
because
clue.
I wasn't the number one pick in the draft.
Chip, this is the most ridiculous thing you've heard so far. Somebody will top it by next week or the week after.
And I'm
I
sure
guarantee
of it.
it.
And I'm sure of it.
There's no doubt. And then moving on, folks, you got to check out our show at Sips Sports Bar. We had a great time, great crowd, a lot of guests. We had another women's football team show up. So Kat Ferrari,
Force. Yes,
the
sir.
owner of Pittsburgh Force, thanks for being on our show. They want to show up each week, and they're going to play next year in the season. So they're building their team. We found out they have 18 rookies so far.
Wow.
So it's an interesting team. We met 4 of the players.
And we met a couple of young ladies last night that love to hit. And I'm glad they're not going to be hitting me.
Family show. Family show.
Definitely. Big Mike, you have to check it out when it goes up on YouTube. It's not up yet, but it'll be up shortly.
Which one of the two women's teams is the upper echelon and the Hounds? What's it called?
The River Hounds are soccer.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Passion. We're
Is the-
fans
is
of
the-
the Pittsburgh Passion there.
That's
So,
the upper
with
echelon?
Teresa Kahn and Franco Harris are owners of the team.
But isn't there a second echelon football team as well? And what's their name?
It might either be the Pittsburgh Force, and then the 8-man football league is which you're probably.
Well, it's 8 man. It's not 8.
Power. Pittsburgh Power with
Okay.
Lynn Swan.
No, he's
Right.
talking about the women's football league. with
he called
Bobby
it the
Gold,
8-man
the
team.
Well, he said the
Actually,
8-man.
Yeah,
He
my
switched
fault.
up on
Yeah,
us.
8 women.
That's
8
basketball.
8 women.
No, that's a football team. Indoor football.
Yeah.
Lynn Swan,
Yeah,
folks.
that's
Oh, I'm
right.
talking
Hall
about
of
the
Famer.
The eight
We cover
woman-
everything.
the-
Back to Sip Sports Bar. We'll cover that other stuff. Tuesday night, tonight, I know Don Campidi's watching the show, but his pizza is actually being served 50 cents a slice at Sip Sports Bar. You got to stop home on your way. Smokin' Jim, Big Mike. Head down West Liberty Avenue at 3024 West Liberty
and
Avenue.
Kelton, at the
I
corner
have
of
been
Kelton
eating
and West Liberty.
Campidi's Pizza for 50 years, and it's as good as it gets.
And
Absolutely.
all my friends from KO, we all stopped up there many a time. I was sharing some stories with Dawn. So go out to Campidi's on any night but Tuesday. Tuesday night, you got to go to Sip Sports Bar. Then Thursday, I heard a rumor Smoking Jim Frazier may be their 25-cent wings.
Woo!
All right, you got to go there. And then, if you haven't been there 2 nights plus the third night on Monday, show up on Friday for the jumbo fish and coleslaw. $7.50 for it, and the fish is so big, Big Mikey can't finish it. But it's a great place. We're having a lot of fun there, although we do have sad news. The best bartender in Dormont, Tracy's no longer with us. She's still alive. She just got a great job.
And you know what? She'll now be a guest in,
So
our,
she
in,
says.
in our studio audience. And she'll be keeping my lovely wife company.
All right.
There you go. So that's our SIPS update.
But we sent her out with a bang, didn't we?
Yes,
Nice
we
crowd.
did.
She
Nice
did.
crowd.
Yeah,
She left happy
great time
there.
last night. She made some money. Good for her.
Definitely, and a lot of great food. And we're even talking about having a banner there, guys. You might even see a Pittsburgh Sportsline banner on the table. So a few things are in the works, folks.
Wow.
Keep on coming out, and all those KO friends of mine, just come on out there. You can show up. Monday night, you're eating out anyhow. Come to Sip Sports Bar. Maybe we'll even put you on for about 2 or 3 minutes.
Good stuff.
All right, now we go to a couple favorite segments here. We got 3 of them now because Big Mike joined the segment. He's on probation, folks.
Big boy club.
He's in the big boy club. He got the big boy pants on. You can't see that right now, but we got Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. Hey, real quickly, a number of years back, a lot of people were coming up to me and telling me about this outstanding basketball player and football player from Steel Valley High School that was tearing it up on the football field, wanted me to go, evaluate him playing. And being that Steel Valley and football didn't go together, I didn't go see him play. But but he went to college and tore it up in college, and I got the opportunity in 2006, right after Steelers won a Super Bowl in the spring of 2006, and I was able to co-MC a banquet with this young man at the Hilton, and I thought it would be like when I co-MC'd a banquet with Jamie Dixon that I would have to carry him, but he held his own and then some. Charlie Batch from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He came out in 2000, and I tell you what, I've never seen a guy so positive. Totally surprised me. He came out, talked to the young people at an All-Star banquet, and he said that he got a Super Bowl ring, and it's going to remain until he retires in a safety deposit box.
Wow.
He says because he's going to play another 5 years in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And everybody just focused in. There was only one person laughing. That was me. I thought it was a joke because I thought he was on his last leg then. I thought he was joking, but he was serious about playing another 5 years. Ended up playing another 7 years for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I tell you what, he went out working hard. He was still the captain of the Pittsburgh Steelers basketball team. He played well, looked like he was in excellent shape.
And he could still make a 3.
He could still make a 3, and he couldn't outrun Father Time. So just a shout-out to a friend of mine that I was able to co-MC a high school banquet with, Charlie Batch. Job well done.
Did he retire?
Absolutely.
Well, he didn't retire, but the Steelers retired him.
And I just want to give you one thing, that even though they are letting him go, he's going to stay in shape, he announced. So if they do need him, they know where to get a hold of him. He's all over the airwaves. If you see Facebook and all that,
Oh, he's been on?
he's everywhere. He was on DVE this morning.
DVE? No wonder I missed
He
it.
was on the fan with Ron Cook this morning.
Whammo, I think he was
Was
on
he
too.
on Whammo?
And I'll tell you what, Charlie Batch has done so much, for the community that he grew up in. He's been a great man about the community. A lot of charitable organizations that he has things to do with. And I really think that the Steelers ought to find some way to permanently make him a member of the organization. What better quarterback coach could you possibly have than Charlie Batch? He was a starting quarterback in the NFL for the Detroit Lions. Anytime that the Steelers needed him, yeah, he did have a little blip in the radar in Cleveland last year. But you know what? Everybody has a bad day, but he came back with a solid win against the Super Bowl champions, Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. So, you know what I mean? Charlie, I hope he stays in Pittsburgh, and Mr. Rooney, you need to put him on the payroll again.
Oh, he's staying in Pittsburgh. He's a great guy. Matter of fact, check out Hugathon Pittsburgh. You'll see photos of myself and Charlie Batch and a lot of the Joanne Quinn Smith, the Techno Granny, Joanne Forrester, Mary Pam Kilgore, Dean Quinn, all the people involved with the Hugathon. Charlie stayed for so many hugs.
Are you darker than Charlie?
Not yet.
Sorry, Charlie.
Not yet. But Charlie's just a super guy. And you talk about patience. He's signing autographs. He goes to these events. I've watched him over the years, and now I've known him and talked to him, and he's just a super down-to-earth guy who helps the community. So he will stay around here, and it would be nice if he could be a coach.
Well, I can't give, I hate to disagree with my main man, Chip, but I can't give Charlie Batch or Lil Z any credit for anything they're doing in Homestead until somebody can get the rats out of Homestead.
All right, we'll drop this and move forward here. Why don't we go to another favorite segment of mine? It's Chip's Trivia Time.
Oh, thank you, Alan. And my trivia time this week is a little bit lean, but we got the Stanley Cup playoffs coming up, and we're going to be talking Stanley Cup playoffs, and I want to give my predictions on the first round matchups. There's 8 of them, and that's not going to happen now. But, the Penguins have a pretty storied history with the New York Islanders and in the playoffs. It was 1975 when the Penguins were up 3-1 against the Islanders. And
they should have won.
Lost three games in a row. There was the debacle in 1993 when the Penguins lost. That they should have gone on to win their 3rd consecutive cup. That was the best Penguin team of the 3, and they took the Islanders lightly, and they got booted out. But Stanley Cup playoffs coming up, and there's all the famous people that played hockey. There was Gordie Howe, there's Wayne Gretzky, Mark Messier, et al. Mario Lemieux. Let's not forget about the magnificent one. But the leading point scorer in Stanley Cup Finals. Now, this is just the final series,
right,
not the preliminaries. Gentleman that scored 62 points. Okay, that's a lot of points in just the final series. Now you think about all the players that played in the finals, and you think about the teams that won multiple Stanley Cups, and of course, the first person that comes to your mind is Wayne Gretzky.
Right.
Wayne Gretzky was the 2nd highest point scorer in Stanley Cup final history. He was 9 points shy of 62.
Really?
The gentleman that scored the most points in Stanley Cup final history was Jean Beliveau, center for the Montreal Canadiens in the 50s.
Wow.
That's a pretty substantial record because back in the early 80s, they were scoring goals in bushels.
Yeah.
And also the most goals scored in playoffs. Okay, the record was set in 1976. Okay, and the record was again tied in 1986.
Wow.
Okay, now the record was set by the Broad Street Bullies, the Philadelphia Flyers, when they won back-to-back cups. A gentleman named Reggie Leach, not a household name, but he scored 19 goals in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That wasn't in the finals; that was in the playoffs. That record was matched by a member of the 1986 Edmonton Oilers, and it was not Wayne Gretzky. Yari Curry tied the record.
Conspiracy.
And he tied the record by scoring 4 hat tricks during the playoffs, and included in those 4 hat tricks was one 4-goal game.
Wow.
So that leads me to my last bit of playoff trivia, and I go back to 1982. And if anybody remembers, the New York Islanders at one time were a dynasty. The New York Islanders won 4 consecutive Stanley Cups just prior to the Edmonton Oilers winning 4 consecutive Stanley Cups. So in the 80s, you had 2 teams that won 4 Stanley Cups in a row. There was 2 other teams that won Stanley Cups in the 1980s. One was the Calgary Flames. One was the Montreal Canadiens. And those were all the champions you had in the 1980s. But in 1982, the Penguins had the Islanders down. And they were down to the deciding game. It was 1982, and the Penguins were winning 3-2. And a gentleman for the Islanders. And the Islanders had a lot of Hall of Famers on that team. Brian Trottier, Bobby Nystrom, Billy the Stick Smith in goal.
Bobby Knight?
Clark Gillies. No, he was...
Billy,
Oh, Billy.
his cousin.
Clark Gillies was a defenseman who played on the Miracle on Ice team. But a guy named John Tonelli scored the game-tying goal to tie the game at 3-3. The game went into overtime, and John Tonelli scored the overtime winning goal that sent the Islanders on to win their next, in a string of Stanley Cups and eliminate the Penguins from the playoffs. The reason why I bring this up, Penguin fans, do not think that the Penguins are going to skate right through the New York Islanders. If they overlook this team in any way, shape, or form, or take them lightly, they could get bounced from the playoffs again. It could happen. The Islanders have a very nice young team. Tavares is a pretty amazing young hockey player. Nabokov is a solid goaltender, and Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby have never scored a goal against him.
Really?
Those are some interesting statistics. So.
Wow, you're throwing trivia,
That's-
opinions.
No,
We got everything.
That was awesome.
That-
That was hardly
Save
insignificant
some for our
trivia.
Penguin segment.
Because I'll tell you what,
Save
that's
a
an
little
eye
for the
opener.
Penguin
And
segment.
everything that you had asked about playoff
that?
stuff,
What'd you call it?
I always thought I knew the answer, and I didn't have one answer correct.
Yeah, and I find it interesting, with all the people that have won Stanley Cups. There's Maurice the Rocket Richard. There's the Gretzky, Lemieux, and all these feats. The people that that had the records. They're just Yari Curry. He played on Gretzky's line. Come on, the guy. The guy was just cleaning up Gretzky's garbage. But hey, 19 goals in the playoffs. That's a lot.
I would have bet my life on one of those two answers being Mark Messier. Neither one was, and that surprised the hell out of me.
Well, we
Maybe
better
if
get
that-
to your segment now, because now look at the questions. He
I
got
got-
more questions. All right, we're going to our new segment. He's on probation. He's on his best behavior. Big Mike's questions.
And notice I didn't cover my stuff because I knew he wasn't going to look. He's really interested in whatever
you
comes
know what? He's
electronically.
going brain surgery after this. So
Brazil's
somebody's-
just talking his ear off.
somebody's life is going to be saved after this, and you make fun of that.
Like you, I do not.
Like you just did.
Can't you wait to meet her?
As you said at the onset when I said, what does he do? Why can't he be here on time? You said he does everything. So yeah, I believe he does brain
There's
surgery.
surgery happening after this. By 8:30, he'll be lasering somebody's brain there and saving a life. All right.
At 8:10,
What's your question?
At 8:10, he's watching the Pirate game. Okay, I got two fastballs and two sliders. Now the sliders, change-ups, AKA. Tonight's theme is celebrity ownership in sports teams. So I'm going to fire out three for you. This one fellow built a media empire superstation. He's also a personal friend of mine. Which team did he own, and who is he?
Atlanta.
Ted Turner.
Got it. Okay. Second one was actually a former president at one time owned the.
Texas Rangers.
Well, he wasn't a former president. He's a former president now, and it's
He wasn't
George
a
Dye.
president.
That's
George
correct.
He wasn't
Okay.
a president yet. He got a sweetheart deal.
okay. And the
Along
singing
with that oil company.
who was the singing cowboy, and what team did he own?
Gene Autry, the California Angels.
That's correct. Okay. Now for a couple fastballs, and I'm going to name names. Bill Maher has a minority stake, which is actually $20 million. What's funny? Okay, which team does he have a minority stake
Somebody
in?
texted him on the brain surgery. It's
Okay,
cancer.
okay, it's not the, all right. Bill Maher, the comedian, the HBO comedian.
That's why he's laughing.
You know what? I'm at a loss from this one.
He got
Mudhens.
he got involved after Bernie took down, not took down, but who's the owner of the Mets? The Wilpons.
Okay.
Bill Maher bought into the Mets for $20 million. Gloria Estefan, a Miami native, I gave that away. Minority share, and she is
The Miami Dolphins.
correct. Rapper Jay-Z owns.
The Nets?
The Brooklyn Nets.
Correct. And this one's going to get you guys. A guy with a long life golfer who actually putted against a 2-year-old Tiger Woods on the Mike Douglas show. He was a comedian par excellence.
Bob Hope.
Bob Hope. Which team? You're there, man.
Bob Hope still living?
No.
He's gone.
No, I don't know.
He's up there.
I remember Ben Crosby had a piece of the Pirates.
Well, that's why I wouldn't throw that as a softball. Bob Hope was a part owner of the Cleveland Indians, his adopted hometown when he came from England, from 46 through the 60s. Thank you very much.
Yeah, see, as a matter of fact, Jim, the film of the complete seventh game of the 1960 World Series was found in Ben Crosby's archives. He had it recorded for him,
You can buy it
and
now.
they found it in his. They were going through some of his estate material,
Really?
and they found it, and that's the only full all 9 innings of the game. Film of the game, because he had that filmed because he couldn't watch the game in person
Get
because he had
outta
prior
here.
commitments, so they had him film the game, and that stayed in his archives for 50 some
I
years
never knew that.
before that was released. Yes, sir.
I want to say something really cool about Bob Hope that's going to amaze the heck out of you guys. Michael Jackson supposedly, I don't know if he was or wasn't, but you associate Michael Jackson with the moonwalk, right?
Yeah.
Bob Hope and Jimmy Cagney. Cagney was a hoofer long before he became
What's
an
a
actor.
hoofer?
A gangster, a dancer.
Oh, okay.
Why do I love this guy?
He's a straight man.
They
He's doing a hell of a job.
A hoofer? I thought I was just doing good with you. Bob Hope and Jimmy Cagney in The Seven Little Foys, a movie from the 40s. They were dancing in a supposedly a boardroom of executives, and they got up and they did a dance, and Bob Hope did the moonwalk across that
What did he
boardroom
call it
table.
then?
He called it the Hope. I don't know what he
Shuffle.
called it.
Well, you got to have the answer there so we can close the deal
He
here.
had that much rhythm.
He had a lot of hope.
Called it the Curly Shuffle.
There you go.
Yep.
Nothing like some stooges there.
You're losing it. You're losing his team again, Al. I'm telling
They
you.
ran with your questions. They liked it.
Pass that down.
You
My
might
man,
be off
my
of
man.
probation.
These are my boys. These
We
are
got
my boys.
to have you one more week on this probation thing. You
Well,
did
that
really
got- that
good.
got
You
some
did
blood.
good. You did
Yeah,
good,
you
Big
did
Mike.
well, my
you
friend.
did good. Good.
Okay, well,
I was
And
very- I
now
was
we
very
got to
honored.
talk a little Steeler draft with our late arriving NFL scout Steeler War Room draft. He had 3 steaks this week, and he stayed for the whole time. So that's quite an honor, Smoking Jim. What was it like? Got any insights there? How was that board that you guys keep erasing stuff on?
Yeah, outstanding opportunity. First night had dinner with Dan Rooney, and what a great guy. Did some great things here. I don't have much respect for his son. I think that he's going to ruin the Pittsburgh Steelers. I predicted that when he got the job. Art Rooney II, along with, but anywho, Mean Joe Green was there. Mean Joe Green and I had breakfast. We had steak and eggs for breakfast.
Nice.
Friday morning. But anywho, I thought the Steelers did a horrible job in the draft.
Give us the grade first, because you gave it out last night at the end. You didn't want to throw it out right away.
Yeah, I graded it a D.
Okay.
And for the simple reason they did not get any starters, draft any starters this year. I'm big on starters. And when you're 8-18, you need somebody to come in and help you. I don't think that Jarvis Jones never impressed me. I had him already circled as being a bust. In the Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought reach to get him, and I guarantee you he will not start. And he'll be playing behind a guy that's pretty mediocre in Jason Worlds. And he won't be able to beat Jason Worlds
How
also.
can you eat meals with the Steelers there and be welcome to do that? You must be one of the greatest guys around as a friend.
Well, I trust when I'm eating with the Steelers because they got all black cooks. I don't think they'll poison me.
Okay, just checking. Do you take the first bite, or do you let somebody else dig in
No,
first?
I-
on
You know,
those eggs?
Smoking Jim, I listen to some of the national publications and some of the people talking about, they seem to think that the Steelers, I heard them talking in glowing terms about the Steelers draft, and I heard people mention the greatest Pittsburgh Steelers draft of all time, probably the greatest draft in NFL history, 1974. The Steelers drafted Lynn Swann in the first round, Jack Lambert in the second round, John Stallworth in the fourth round, and Mike Webster in the sixth round. And all four of them were Hall of
Lots of free
Famers.
agents.
Don't forget a free agent was
Donnie Shell.
And
Yep.
he should be in the Hall
And
of
he should
Fame.
be in the
folks.
Hall of
Start
Fame
writing
as well.
in.
But
Get your
you know,
congressman.
it's hard to really. I mean, and I defer to Jim. Jim is a much better evaluator of talent. Yes, that's what he does. But I think the jury's going to be out on this draft class, and we're going to have to see what these men bring to the table and what they can do for the Steelers. But more importantly, what are the core group of the guys that are still on the team? How are they going to react to the fact that they were an 8-8 team last year? And who's going to step up? In theory, it appears that they've addressed, needs that they had. But, if Jim's telling me there's not a starter in the bunch, I'm going to have to defer to his expertise. I mean, the Jim watches a lot more film than I do. I'm just Joe average fan here, and I'm a homer at that. So.
11-5, I say, Smoking Jim. They got the easiest schedule, like you said. And if these guys don't start, some of them will get in the game anyhow.
But this is the last hurrah. The last hurrah. Easy schedule. They got they still got enough Bill Cowher players still left on the team to maybe push for the playoffs.
Well, Charlie, I heard Charlie say something about Landry Jones being drafted in the 4th round, and there was questions as to why would the Steelers draft him so high, and Charlie made that the Steelers usually will sign their players to 2 nice contracts. They don't ever do a third. And Roethlisberger signed for the next 3 years. And did they draft Landry Jones to take Ben's place 3 years down the road when they don't want to pay him $20 million a year to continue to call signals?
Well, see, comments like that from Charlie Batch is the reason why it's going to be a while before we get a black owner in the National Football League. Charlie, keep your mouth shut on stuff like that. Landry Jones is one of the weakest armed quarterbacks ever seen in my life. Wow. He has what I consider a disease. It's called big game disease. He's never played well in the big games. Go back and watch, like I have, the Notre Dame and the Kansas State game, along with many others, and you'll see that Landry Jones is just like those quarterbacks from Hawaii, those quarterbacks from BYU, and those quarterbacks from Texas Tech. They put up big numbers in college, but they don't have the arm strength to duplicate that in the National Football League. So Landry Jones is going to have a good time the first year because they got his bum receiver. Also, Justin Brown, they wanted a tall receiver. He's 6'4". He's very tall.
Didn't he transfer from Penn State?
He transferred from Penn State, and he runs like a linebacker. So,
fast linebacker? Or
no, he runs like
4.9?
Yeah. Him and Jarvis Jones.
Okay.
I tell you what, if him and Jarvis Jones race the pregnant lady, the best that they could come in is 3rd.
Smoking. I got a question about the draft for you. It's a 3-parter.
Your big questions were already done.
We only got 11 minutes left.
3-parter. Okay, in no particular order. How many teams are in the NFL? What's the definitive source of rating the draft? And out of all those teams, however many teams there are,
32.
Did any of them get D's for draft competence or incompetence?
Well, you know what? The measuring stick for the draft has been those of late is Mel Kiper. He's the big draft guru. Everybody on ESPN touts Mel Kiper. Well, Mike Mayock, who's a draft analyst for the NFL Network, got 8 of the 32 first-round picks correct, and he did better than anybody else. Mel Kiper, the expert, the guru, the genius, didn't get a single first-round draft pick right in his mock drafts this year.
No. What I meant,
and the grade is still on that.
But you're right. Most of the people across the country, and especially here in southwestern Pennsylvania, is raving about the Steelers draft. A and the B is all I've been seeing. I'm the only one that's below sea level on that.
There you go. You got your answer, Big Mike.
Answers.
Well, some of them you knew, the 32 teams.
No, I did not. Come
you
on.
sometimes play because you're an actor, world-renowned actor. So I didn't believe you didn't know 32.
I didn't.
Okay. Well, we got to touch a little bit on the Buccos for a minute or two here.
15 and
15 and 11 right now.
15 and 11. They tied the team record for most wins in the month of April. They
And a
beat
chance to break it tonight.
They
folks.
beat the Brewers tonight. Now, you know, if anybody has followed the Pirates recently, and I have followed them avidly, even through all these losing seasons, because I am a true Pirate fan, and I'll stick with them thick or thin. And if they lose another 20 years, I'll still be rooting on them. But you know
Goes
what?
both ways.
They where was I going with this?
Big Mike interrupted you.
Yeah, I know. The
He's good at that.
oh, I lost my train of thought.
You're an avid
No,
Pirate
no,
fan.
you know what,
Another
you know,
20
the-
I
years, you'll
drank
be
the
there.
Kool-Aid that he provided,
You know,
so we're good to go.
The
I'm on the
Milwaukee
bandwagon.
Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers are the Pirates' kryptonite. This is one team that we can't really seem to beat. But you know, one of the things that they were proven last year was they ran and ran and ran on the Pirates when they came into town in September. And I was at a couple of those games, and every guy that got on base ran, and everybody ran from first to third. Everybody had 2 stolen bases. Now there's a little bit of a different scenario.
New sheriff's
Russell
in
Martin.
town.
Russell Martin's playing a real nice job. He won National League Player of the Week last week. Hit 4 home runs. You know, it was threw out more runners in the month of April than Rod Barajas did in the entire season last year. So there's a lot of upside for the Pirates. There's a lot of help coming in the starting pitching. So you know, enjoy the ride. May is going to be a lot more fun than April.
I know, but you have a lot of people. There's an undercurrent. They've seen this before, so I'm on the bandwagon, folks, and I'm not in the front seat, but I'm hanging on there. So
Well, can I say one thing?
Yeah,
Because I
say
know
it.
that you guys have $1 back.
Yeah.
I tell you what, my good friend and my partner, Al Levine, the talking machine, treated me to a lunch on Sunday that was second to none. And I tell you what, he dug deep in his pockets. You can tell he wasn't used to digging that deep. But
hold it, where do we eat at?
Piper's Pub. I never would have found it wasn't for you, man. You told me
Bridgeville.
It's right next to the Burger King.
right next to the Burger King. That sold me.
Is that Bridgeville?
This is
South side.
downtown Southside,
Right?
right in Southside.
Had a good time, man.
Shepherd's Pie.
And he saved me from the burn unit, man, because he said, "Don't touch that plate; it's hot."
He didn't believe me. I told him I had a 3rd-degree burn 10 years ago when I first tried it. So
Had a
glad
good
you
time.
enjoyed the meal. We'll have to have another team meeting there. But it was fun. And that was because of a rain out. So shout out to Claudio and CMU. We wanted to try to set a record here in BPTV and film a college baseball game. It was their last game of the season.
I was on my way.
And it was disappointing because Chip was there, Aaron Ward was there, Mike was at a shooting range.
Was it their last game?
It was their last game of the
I
season.
never knew that.
Yes, very disappointing. So Claudia showed up. Claudia showed up on our show and explained all that to us, and our 4 seniors graduated, and they had a lot of people coming in a crowd, and they're not rescheduling a game, so that was it. Again, you got to give these young men a lot of credit. They get no scholarship money, no fringe benefits there. They do it for the love of the game.
Is
So
it expensive to go there?
it's about 50 to 60K. So that's it. Hey, let's touch on the Penguins again. We've talked a little bit about the Penguins. They're all getting healthy. I don't know if Sid will be out there, to play. It'll probably be maybe a week, but let him rest up. Let they'll all go to the visor that's sort of like glare-proof and tinted, and I think they'll all get hat tricks.
Well, I tell you, the Penguins have got their work cut out for them, and anybody that thinks that the Penguins are going to steamroll right through the Islanders, I've got the Penguins winning the series in 5. I think the Islanders are going to steal a game at home from the Penguins, and it's going to wake up the sleeping lion. We'll go and sweep them 2
Hey, Chip,
2 in New York, and we'll bring it back home for Game 5, and we'll win it here.
I don't worry if they win in 6 or 7. To me, it's all about the W's and moving on. Anything can happen in these games. There's injuries, of course. Hopefully we're all healthy and get beyond those concussions. Anybody can get concussed. We've seen that.
But to talk about the NHL playoffs, there's 8 first-round matchups, and I'd like to give my predictions on the matchups and who's going to win and how many games. Now we've got Minnesota playing Chicago. Chicago won the President's Cup this year. The President's Cup goes to the team with the best record in the league. I have Chicago winning that series in 4 games. Los Angeles, the defending Stanley Cup champions, are playing the St. Louis Blues. I've got LA winning in 6. Detroit and Anaheim. Now, Detroit has now made it, I believe, 22 years in a row into the playoffs. They snuck in at the end. They're going to be playing the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And unfortunately for Detroit, their stay in the playoffs this year is going to be short. Anaheim's going to beat them in 6 games.
Wow.
You got Pittsburgh and the Islanders, and I've got Pittsburgh taking the Islanders in 5. There's Montreal and Ottawa. And Ottawa, had they lost to Boston on Sunday in regulation, would have been Pittsburgh's first-round matchup. Wow. And the Canadians are going nuts because you got 2 Canadian teams, 2 different provinces going against one another. Montreal playing the Ottawa Senators. I've got Montreal beating them in 6. Next, we go over to the West Coast, where the San Jose Sharks and the Vancouver Canucks are going to be going against each other. And Vancouver has been a very strong team, went to the finals 2 years ago. I have Vancouver beating San Jose in 5. San Jose has a history of bowing out early in the playoffs. That brings me up to my next marquee matchup, the Washington Capitals and the New York Rangers. And I know Alan mentioned something about Alex Ovechkin and how he kind of caught fire, and there's questions about him possibly being league MVP. Well, let me tell you this. The New York Rangers are going to send Alex Ovechkin back to Siberia. The Rangers are going to beat the Capitals in 7. And that leads us to our final first-round matchup, the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have been absent from the playoffs for a lot of years. And unfortunately, you're going to be an exit from the playoffs in the first round. They're going to lose to Boston in 5 games. So that's
well, there you go.
Those are my picks for this year's.
That's Chip the Prophet Hayner. He's pulled out a few of them over the years from the Giants in football, winning the championship when nobody believed in him. Follow Chip on his picks here. We're going to close the show with some closing remarks. Big Mike, we'll start with you.
Real short and sweet, because this is something he and I totally 100% agree upon. The Profiteer and I. Earlier in the season, earlier this year, when the Jays, the Dodgers, and the Angels made their moves for baseball players, everybody was anointing them, and Chip and I kind of agreed that 2 out of the 3 won't make the playoffs. Well, as of today,
2 out of 3.
The Jays, the Angels, and/or the Dodgers. As of today, all 3 are under 500.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about the way that the Pirates are building their franchise here is they're building from within, and everybody cried all winter they need to spend more money. Spending more money doesn't guarantee you anything, other than you're just you're hurting your profits. I mean, it's a business,
and that's from the Profiteer.
And people get upset because Bob Nutting makes money. Let me tell you something. There isn't anybody that owns a professional sports franchise that don't make money by the truckload. That's just a fact of life. That's what they do. That's why they own professional sports franchises. But I think the way the Pirates are building their team, they're gonna build a team that's going to be a winner, and it's going to be a winner consistently year after year.
And there you go. Smoking Jim, what do you have for some closing remarks here,
Well,
buddy?
real quick, everybody from Pitt, it seems to be transferring from the basketball team. University of Pittsburgh really needs to start recruiting some kids locally. They blew it with Gateway, 6'11", Barnett Harris. He's at Delaware. They blew it with McKee Sports, 7-foot Zeke Marshall. He's going to enter the NBA next year. So Pitt, do the local people a favor and start recruiting some of these local kids, and they won't transfer.
And not only does Smoking Jim scout football, but he's world-renowned with basketball, even runs a basketball camp. So maybe you need to hire him and help him out there. Not that I get a commission on that, folks, but thanks for the $5, Smoking Jim. So we'll have to get you down at Pitt there.
And maybe that'd help you pay that tab at Piper's.
Whoa, you got to pay the piper every so often. Hey, thanks for watching the show, folks. We appreciate it. We're getting a lot of great feedback. We appreciate the comments. Thanks to Dave Cable with all the editing that he does on our other show, Sip Sports Bar. Come out there on Monday night, 7:30. The weather's nice. There's parking on the street after 7 o'clock. Come on out there to see us. Thanks to Matt. Great job on the cameras as we flip back and forth. He's fantastic here, even though he's a radio guy, so we appreciate that. Devin Shea and Aaron Ward in the control room. They help make this all happen.
Can't
and make
do
us
it
look
without
great.
you. We
So
can't do it without you,
we
Devin.
appreciate it. Thanks for watching the show.